Good evening, everybody. My name's Torelli, and I would like to welcome you back to the midnight run of World of Warcraft Legion. Tonight, we are going to look at the Brewmaster Monk, a tanking class whose primary stat is agility, and it's changed a lot since Warlords of Dreanor, and I'm going to show you some of the differences, especially at level 100, and I'm going to show you a little bit of what you can come to expect for a tanking rotation at the end of the video. So let's start off with the specialization. Brewmaster is the tank specialization for the monks. Primary stats agility. Says a sturdy brawler who uses liquid fortification and unpredictable movement to avoid damage and protect allies. Okay, so basically he gets drunk, dances around, and protects everybody, like he's supposed to as a tank. The first thing that we're going to look at is these 6 abilities here, which are supposed to be your main abilities as a Brewmaster tank, or at least some things you're going to use almost every single rotation. First one we see here is Tiger Palm. It's a basic melee attack that reduces the cooldown of your brew abilities. So if I go down here, I have it on my bar in the first position. It attacks, it does a certain amount of damage. It reduces the remaining cooldown on my brews by 1 second. Now the brews are up here. There are several of them. They seem to focus more on the brews this time around than they did in Warlords of Dreanor. The second thing you'll notice is that there is no jab on here. Now, jab was the primary ability to generate chi for monks in Warlords of Dreanor and Mists of Pandaria, where they first appeared. In Legion, Brewmaster monks will no longer use chi, so they don't have abilities that generate chi or use chi. They just have cooldowns and energy. So, Keg Smash, which used to generate 2 chi in Warlords of Dreanor and Mists of Pandaria, now does not. And it says that it smashes a keg of brew on the target, dealing a bunch of damage, and all the people within 8 yards reduced movement speed by 50% for 15 seconds. And it reduces the remaining cooldown on my brews by 4 seconds. So it's the theme that we're seeing so far is that you want to reduce the cooldown of your brews so that you can use them as much as possible. Now, Breath of Fire is an interesting ability. It's got a short cooldown, it does a cone of damage in front of you, it does extra damage if those targets are affected by Keg Smash. So already we have a little bit of combo down here. That's why I have Tiger Palm in the first position, Keg Smash in the second position, and Breath of Fire in the third position. I left Blackout Strike here because of the fact that it used to give me a buff for reducing incoming damage while you were tanking melee mobs. It would give you something like Shuffle is what it was called, and it either increased your agility or it reduced the amount of damage you got overall, that sort of thing. But I don't know if it does that in this. I'm going to bring up the real ability here. Cards a 2-handed melee weapon, strike with a blast of chi energy, and it deals damage. Doesn't look like it does anything else, so for now, that's probably just going to be an energy dump. Just smash that over and over again. It doesn't actually take any energy to use. We'll look at when we use it in the rotation later in the video, we'll see if it does what we think it does, or if it gives me a buff like it did in Warlords of Dreanor. Now, Stagger is the main focus of how the Brewmaster tank works. It's a passive that takes a portion of my damage and makes it delayed. So I don't take it all at once, I take a portion of it later. This becomes important because we now have Purifying Brew, which we had in Warlords of Dreanor and Mists of Pandaria as well, which it used to take away all of it. It took away all the damage that was sitting off to the side waiting to be dealt to you over those amount of time. It would take it all away. It would cleanse it off. Now it has 3 charges. It has 3 charges, and it clears 50% of the damage delayed with a Stagger. And it shares charges with Iron Skin Brew, which is this right here. Now this increases the damage you delay with Stagger by an additional 40% for 6 seconds. So you can use this first, delay more damage, and then use Purifying Brew to clean off half of that damage. which should allow the healer to be able to heal you fully up, because the Brewmaster tank doesn't really work so much about like absorbing damage. It's more about dodging damage or making that damage go away with the use of Purifying Brew. Okay, so now that we've covered the main 6 abilities that come with your specialization, let's move on to the talents. Now, the talents have changed quite a bit. I was just looking at this on live, and the entire first row is nothing like what the first row is on live. And the second row on Legion is actually the first row on Warlords of Dreanor. So they've changed everything around. Abilities have been moved. It's helped a lot that they have their separate honor talents, because honor talents keep a lot of that stuff that you didn't really need while you were questing, keeps them in this section here. And I won't get into honor talents unless I get up to 110 during the beta, and then I'll think about doing that some more just to check it out. I'm not really big into PvP, like I said before. Okay, so in the first row we have Chi Burst, which hurls a torrent of energy up to 40 yards and deals a bunch of damage. And it does not, while casting it, doesn't prevent avoiding attack. So you can still dodge even though you're casting it for less than a second. So it doesn't have an instant cast time, which is fine. Next we have Eye of the Tiger, which is the one I selected, and it says target the Tiger Palm also applies Eye of the Tiger, dealing extra nature damage to enemies and healing the monk over 8 seconds. Now this is a great survivability tool, and it's going to help me as a tank get some of that damage back without having to rely completely on the healer. It's going to make the healer's job easier, and I think healers are really going to appreciate you having this, because it's easy to do. It's easy to use Tiger Palm a lot. Chi Wave is the third option, which is it's a wave of chi energy that flows through friends and foes. It basically bounces from target to target. It'll heal allies and deal damage to enemies. Very useful. It's what I currently use on live, but once this switches over to Legion, I will be using Eye of the Tiger. Excuse me. Okay. In the second row, we have Chi Torpedo, which replaces your roll. Torpedoes you forward a long distance and increases your movement speed by 20% for 10 seconds, and it has 2 charges. Okay, it just makes your roll different. Makes it a little longer, has 2 charges, increased movement speed. Tiger's Lust, it increases the friendly target's movement speed by 70% for 6 seconds, so it's good to put on other people. I would see taking this if I were a healer and wanting like the tank to move faster or people to get out of things. That'd be very cool. Celerity is the one that I take on live as well. Actually, I take a different talent on live, and that talent looks like it's going to be removed. It's going to be removed, pretty much. I didn't see it anywhere in this talent tree. It could be on one of the other specs, but that's fine. This is the one I'll be taking once Legion rolls out. It reduces the cooldown of roll by 5 seconds, and increasing its maximum number of charges by 1. Very cool. Allows you to roll all over the place. Now I have 3 roll charges, whereas on live I only have 2. So, seems good to me. In the third row, at level 45, you're going to pick up Light Brewing, which is a passive, reducing the cooldown of your Stone Skin Brew and Purifying Brew by 3 seconds, and increasing their maximum number of charges by 1. This could be really good, because it allows you to have extra charges of the 2 brews that you use the most, Fortifying Brew and Purifying Brew. So that's going to allow you to take more damage, to eliminate more damage that your healer will then not have to heal off of you. It's going to be very useful. I took Black Ox Brew, which I chug some Black Ox Brew, which instantly refills my energy and my Iron Skin Brew and Purifying Brew charges. It's got a 1-minute cooldown, so longer fights you'll be able to use this more than once. It seems very useful. Like, burn all my cooldowns, burn all my brew, instantly have it all back. That seems very good for boss battles and even for soloing, which I tend to do a lot. Last one is Gift of the Mists, which is a passive. Gift of the Ox has an up to 60% increased chance to trigger based on your missing health. So the lower health you are, the bigger Gift of the Ox has a chance to proc, which is pretty good. Gift of the Ox, if I look at it, which I have to because I don't remember exactly what it is. Gift of the Ox. When you take damage, you have a chance to summon a healing sphere visible only to you. Moving through this healing sphere heals you for 32,000. The lower your current health, the greater your chance to summon a healing sphere. So that could be very good. If you want to just focus on healing spheres, then using Gift of the Mists would really help you a lot. And you could have a lot of solo survivability that way. Combine that with all the different brews and the Eye of the Tiger, and you could really start seeing yourself heal a lot of damage back. Now, at level 60, we unlock Ring of Peace, which forms a ring around you. Enemies that try to attack you basically get knocked out of the ring, which seems pretty cool to keep them away from your healer. Summon Black Ox statue, which is the one I picked, because it's the Black Ox statue. It'll taunt from range, and I wanted to see if that was actually useful. Because Ring of Peace didn't really seem like it'd be all that great for me because I want enemies to come to me. If I was a healer, Ring of Peace would be more suited to what I wanted to do. Leg Sweep is the other one. It's a knockdown. Lock down all enemies within 5 yards. It's the same thing that's on Warlords of Dreanor and Mists of Pandaria. So nothing new on that particular section. I think all 3 of these talents are returning from Warlords of Dreanor. They might not all be in that same row. I can't remember exactly right now, but they are all returning, so that's good. Now, at level 75, there's Healing Elixir, which does what you think it does. It heals you for 15% of your maximum health. If you drop below 35%, it uses the charge automatically. Diffuse Magic and Dampen Harm. All 3 of these abilities, again, come from the last 2 expansions. So Diffuse Magic, of course, reduces magic damage. Dampen Harm reduces all damage for the next 3 attacks that damage you for 15% of your health or more. On live, I use Dampen Harm, but I think I'm going to be switching to Healing Elixir because the way Dampen Harm is worded, it makes it sound like if the attack doesn't do 15% of my maximum health, then this really isn't going to do anything. Now, I could see it being very useful in situations like boss battles where there's going to be a mega attack coming and you want to reduce that damage. I could definitely see that being useful, but the ability to heal myself is going to suit me well as I level. At level 90, there's Rushing Jade Wind. Summons a whirling tornado around you, causing damage for enemies within 8 yards. That seems like it would be a good AoE tanking ability. I could definitely see that being cool. Invoke the Black Ox, Niuzao, the Black Ox, and it summons an effigy of him. I can't say his name, so I'm just going to say him. For 45 seconds, it attacks your primary target and taunts it. So it's a good way to share aggro, take less damage. Very cool. Special Delivery, which I think is brand new for this. I think all 3 of these are actually brand new for Legion. This one, it allows for when you it modifies the abilities that your Iron Skin and your Purifying Brew have. That gives them a 30% chance to toss a keg high into the air that lands nearby and does a bunch of damage to everything within 8 yards, and slowing their movement speed. So it kind of, I picked this one because it takes me back to an ability that has been removed, which was the keg toss. I forget exactly the name of it, but basically you would throw a keg into an area and it would give a lot of aggro. It was a great way to range to pull a lot of mobs. Had 0 cooldown practically, and you just threw it and threw it and threw it, and then you just gather up all the mobs and burn them down. So this kind of replaces that for me, and I want that to, just for that nostalgia reason. We'll see how well it does later on. Now, Elusive Dance is the level 100 on the left-hand side. Purifying Brew also grants up to 15% dodge for 6 seconds, based on the level of stagger damage purified. So you can get extra dodge. Very cool. Fortified Mind. Keg Smash and Tiger Palm now also reduce the cooldown of Fortifying Brew. Now, I took this specifically because I wanted to be able to use Fortifying Brew all the time, as much as I possibly could, because Fortifying Brew is a 5-minute cooldown. So if I can get that cut in half by using Tiger Palms or Keg Smashes, then I think that will really help me out, because Fortifying Brew turns your skin to stone for 15 seconds, increasing your current and maximum health by 20%, increasing the damage you delay with stagger by an additional 20%, and reducing all damage you take by 20%. So you're going to take 20% less, you're going to put 20% more of the damage you take off to the side to take later, which you could then cleanse off, and you're going to have 20% more current and maximum health to help out the healer and to help you stay alive. So I really like the way that synergizes together. The last one over here is High Tolerance, and this one gives you a flat 5% bonus to the amount of stagger damage you can push off to the side. I think that's very useful. I think it could be more useful than some of the other ones, depending on how good you are at managing your stagger damage. But for me, Fortifying Mind is where I'm going. Alright, so now that we've seen the talents and the specialization for the Brewmaster Monk, let me show you what he looks like. This is a Blood Elf Brewmaster Monk. He looks kind of goofy because he's got this crazy like Raiden hat going on and his giant staff, but that's okay. And I have my abilities down here, which I pretty much listed everything off there. The only ones that weren't really on there were Detox, which is normal, Provoke, which works just like it did before, that sort of thing. So everything that I didn't mention is exactly how it was before, but these are all the abilities you'll need. So you can see it only takes up 2 bars, and I'm used to running a 3-bar system. I'm used to running Q through the brackets, basically, as one set of abilities, 1 through the equal sign is another set, and then the function keys on top of that. So if I can cut down the abilities I need to use by about 1/3, then I think I'll be doing well. Now basically we're just going to run up to this and we're going to like smash it up with some damage, and just to show you what some of the abilities are. Also, one quick note, no Spinning Crane Kick for Brewmaster Monks anymore. That's reserved only for the Windwalker Monks. And I think Mistweavers get it too, but none for the Brewmaster. So it's definitely going to be a different world tanking with a Brewmaster Monk. Now, we just start off basically with Tiger Palm, Blackout Kick. That does not... I'm sorry, Blackout Strike does not give us a buff anymore. So that's kind of interesting. But I don't really seem to have a lot to do attacking-wise. But I do have a lot to do with Purifying Brew and Fortifying Brew, that sort of thing. My brews are going to be, I guess, probably the more active I am as a tank. Whereas damage is limited to basically 4 abilities. Tiger Palm, Keg Smash, Blackout Kick, and Breath of Fire. I also have the Lightning, the Crackling Jade Lightning, which I can use later. But it doesn't seem like it's going to play a major role because it doesn't on live either. But so far, so good. Don't really know. I'm not taking any damage, so I can't really tell if it's gonna work or not. So if it's gonna be a good spec. I will play with it some more. I'll show some gameplay of me playing with this guy later on. But for now, I just wanted to show you guys what it would be like to at least know the abilities and set up a character for Legion for a Brewmaster Monk. Alright? So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more content in the future. And until then, I will see you on the next Midnight Run.